And we're back. Welcome back to Retirement Decoded, the podcast. I'm your host, Scott Tucker. My trusty sidekick is Associate Advisor
Matt Marabella.
And there he is. Look at 6'6" of glory. Say hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Get the camera to change. So we had the voice-activated camera. You can listen to the audio version of the podcast, as you may be doing right now. Thank you and congratulations. You also can see the visual version, the video version of the podcast at tuckeryoutube.com. That's tuckeryoutube.com. Before we get too far along, I should mention we have our phone calendar available at tuckerretirement.com. Down below in the description, the first thing there you'll see is tuckerretirement.com. You can click and pick a time right there to get on our phone calendar. We'll spend 15 minutes for free over the telephone, get your questions answered and your answers questioned. But our first question today comes from our only question today. Hey, look at that. Michelle, she lives in Arlington Heights in the Scarsdale neighborhood. Michelle in Arlington Heights says, Matt, what's the biggest retirement income mistake you see people make in the first 5 years after they retire?
Ooh, seen some interesting situations. I think a big thing is not really having that income plan set. And I know this is kind of counterintuitive to the question, but not having that income plan set, so they're just kind of spending as is, or just like living day-to-day life without, a regular paycheck. And then all of a sudden they start seeing expenses are taking up a lot of their retirement distributions. And then we slowly start seeing their retirement assets deplete.
Yeah, so not having an income plan, a lot of folks don't know what they spend, how much they spend, and that's totally normal. I get it. It's nobody's favorite thing to do, budgeting. We never tell them, we don't ever want to tell folks to cut the cable and don't eat pizza and, hide under your bed and all this kind of stuff. Eat stale muffins. We're not trying to do that. We want you to live as well as you do in retirement, maybe even a little better, and to keep your income to keep up with inflation. That's what we're aiming to do. So Michelle in Arlington Heights, the 5 biggest income mistakes you see people make. Well, she said income mistakes, but I would like to broaden it, Michelle, with your permission. I'd like to broaden it beyond that. I would say there are investment mistakes, taking too much risk too close to retirement or even into retirement. So unnecessary risks are unnecessary. Some folks come to us and they come to us with these Class A mutual funds. We've been seeing, especially with this green awning company lately, so if you have an advisor with this outfit, the company tells them what mutual funds to use for the client, even if they're not the best for the client. And they do this under a best interest standard, which is a stockbroker standard, not using an investment advisor rep like we are, where you have a fiduciary standard on securities recommendations. Now, we're also insurance licensed. I should disclaim we're insurance licensed as well. Insurance recommendations are never fiduciary. They're always best interest. This is kind of and if you don't understand this lingo, it's okay. But on the side of recommendations for securities investments, your advisor should not be a stockbroker, in our opinion. They should be licensed as a fiduciary, as an investment advisor representative, a fiduciary on the securities side. So the reason for that, we keep seeing people lately. We've seen a lot of people from the Green Awning Company, and they keep coming in with American funds, mutual funds. And that's okay if they're not the Class A shares. I don't know that there's anything that American Funds does that's spectacular, but what's not spectacular, what can be harmful, is when you're with an advisor that operates under a stock brokerage license, not an investment advisor rep license, and that stockbroker puts you into American funds because their company made them, number one. Number two, there's a high front-end load. So these Class A shares, and not just American funds, other companies, these Class A shares, they have a 5.75% front-end load. That's you put in $100, $5.75 goes to the front-end load, the sales load, to pay the company that the stockbroker's with and to pay the stockbroker. So it's really hard to make money, Matt, when you put in $100 and $5.75 disappears on day one.
And a lot of people don't know that instantly. That $5 adds up over time.
Well, that's the front end load. I mean, it's just missing, so you can't compound gains on it when it's missing money.
Right.
Now then there's the expense ratio on these Class A shares a lot of times you might see that in a year, the expense ratio is 1%. It could be higher than that, but say it's 1%. So you say, well, I get a quarterly statement and it's a quarter of 1%. Well, yeah, 4 times that's 1% per year. So the Class A shares, oftentimes 5.75% front end load, oftentimes 1% per year just to be in the thing. And it's really hard for any money manager to out earn the market and to out earn that 5.75 front end load with the stockbroker, which we're not stockbrokers, we're investment advisor reps. And then that 1% per year of expense ratio that might be going back as 12B1 fees back to the mothership. So we don't answer to a mothership. Our advice in the area of securities is fiduciary in nature, and insurance side of things, it's best interest. It's the best we can do in insurance because insurance products do pay commission. So we got to disclaim that. But in the world of securities, all recommendations are fiduciary in nature. We're not going to recommend a mutual fund that has a high front end sales load. We're not going to recommend a mutual fund or exchange traded fund that has a high expense ratio. In fact, we just recently took a whole bunch of we're working through our whole, you'd say, book of business or assets under management. We took all of our qualified accounts that were in a certain model of stocks and bonds, and we wanted to push the expense ratio down further as far as we can. And so we just went from one model to another. They're very similar in their performance and in their risk and everything like that. But we're saving in that maneuver, the folks do that doesn't apply to everybody. It might not apply to you. But in the folks that we moved from one to the other, we were able to reduce their expense ratios 0.42% per year. That adds up, going from whatever down to, and this is not any specific recommendation, buy, sell, do anything. But say that one model, it was 0.48% per year expense ratio, and now it's down to 0.06%. That's a feel-good moment for us to eliminate 0.42% per year of expense in ETFs and mutual funds. The one that had the higher expense ratio, the 0.48 model that we were getting folks out of that were in qualified accounts, that model performs really well. That model is expected to, this is careful, there's a program called Riskalyze that tells us to expect the net return to the client on that model that was kind of pricey to be 8% per year. So it might theoretically double your money in 9 years using a rule of 72. But I think there's a good chance that the other model might do something like that. Might. And no promises. But it's a lot easier to get there when you're not paying 0.42% per year expense ratio that you might not need to do. Now with computers, we keep finding ways to narrow those costs and eliminate more waste. And that's what we're aiming to do. Now, all of what I said is not a promise or a guarantee. It's not a solicitation to buy or sell any security. It's not a inducement to work with us, but it just shows you how we're thinking and how we're thinking about other people's money as if it were our own. How can we grow it more quickly? Potentially. Matt, compliance likes it when I say potentially. They potentially do.
Yeah, you always have to include potentially.
Yeah, so that's something we see a lot. Matt, we've seen a thing quite a few times with variable annuities. Now, variable annuities are the one kind of annuity. Well, there's a lot of kinds of annuities we don't potentially like. And it's kind of like open up a toolbox, say, well, those needle nose pliers, it's not right for everything. Removing a Phillips screw, needle nose pliers, probably not the best tool.
But it might get the job done.
Well, but needle nose pliers might be good for something else. And a Phillips screwdriver might not work for something else. My fiance, Natalie, we were doing something, and I can't remember what it was, or she was helping me do something, and I needed a Phillips screwdriver. And there's a screwdriver, one of those like 4-in-1 screwdrivers, and it was already set. It's already set up the way it's set up, and I needed a Phillips screwdriver, and I could see the yellow handle, and that's all I could see. They go, Natalie, is that a Phillips? Was it set up as a Phillips?
Right.
Because it has the standard on the other end. And she picks it up, and she goes, no, it's a Stanley. Oh boy.
Let's say, what'd you say back to her?
No, listen. So we had a little talk. No, let's see right here. That's a Phillips. She goes, oh, and she goes, oh, you weren't talking about the brand. You're talking about I go, yeah, I was talking about the screwdriver. Now she teases me all the time. Her dad is a maintenance. He's retired now from Loyola, Chicago. He was a maintenance man. He now works at a car dealership doing some handyman stuff. He's in his 70s, just for odds and ends. He likes cars, and he likes to keep busy, and just a couple bucks here and there. Her stepdad has passed away. Her stepdad was an auto mechanic, and she sees me in my current form, and she thinks I'm Mr. like Wall Street, Mr. Stiff. I don't know what she thinks. Well, you know what it is. She thinks I'm a pansy because I don't. Am I allowed to say pansy? She thinks I'm a less than a man because I don't mow the lawn. You know, I will run the snowblower. Now that is because I do like snowblowers. I am a boy, and I'm a 53-year-old man, but inside I'm still like a little kid. So I don't really like. When I was growing up, I used to mow lawns for money, and I'm not going to mow another lawn. I'm done with that. Like I was in the Navy for 5 years. I lived 2 years on an aircraft carrier, and I do mean lived on it, import, out of port, 2 years. Do you want to go on a cruise? No, I don't want to go on a cruise. No, thank you.
You've done your time.
My last cruise was 6 months long and went to the Persian Gulf and back. And I don't want to. I went through the Strait of Hormuz twice. I think I don't think I'm good. I think I'm good on the cruises. So she thinks I'm a pansy man because I don't mow the lawn. And now I do own a neat little those battery operated leaf blowers. Those are pretty cool. They're super lightweight and blow that crap off that tree. We have a honey locust over in front of our house, and it drops all this stuff everywhere. So that is fun to kind of blows. If I'm so inclined, I'll get up the little leaf blower and blow the stuff off the driveway and off the sidewalk. I'll run the snowblower because we got this fancy snowblower. Now I spent too much on a snowblower. I spent more on a snowblower than my mom wanted me to. Is the way I say it. I can't remember where I got that from. That's more than my mom wants me to spend. The snowblower, it'll throw snow 50 feet.
Holy crap.
It's a, 30-inch Ariens snowblower. Ariens is it's not a white supremacy thing. It's Ariens is the brand. It's not the Aryan Nation. Ariens is the last name. It's from Wisconsin. This snowblower, it's a 2-stage. It's a big metal contraption, no plastic parts on it. It has a headlight. It has heated grips. It'll throw snow 50 feet. I can throw snow from our sidewalk to the neighbor's sidewalk across the street. Isn't that cool?
Just in case the neighbor...
I wouldn't do that, but I could do it if I wanted to.
If needed.
It's still fun. But so Natalie thinks, what was it again? Oh yeah, Natalie thinks I don't know anything. And then she doesn't know what a Phillips screwdriver is. Now she does. But yeah, it's like she doesn't realize I went to DeWitt High School in DeWitt, Michigan, home of the DeWittians. And we had a auto shop. In middle school and high school, we had industrial arts in middle school. In high school, we had woods, we had metals, we had auto shop. I took the woods in the auto shop. I didn't take the metals again, but a whole bunch of shop classes, and they don't do that anymore. And so once in a while, I school her that I do know how to turn a wrench. I just don't want to. I didn't even want to do what I do sometimes,
Fair enough.
There's days I get a little fried out. I say, wow, I need a Miller Lite perhaps after it's quitting time. So so she thinks I'm a pansy man sometimes. Like, oh, you lift a finger, this and that. Oh yeah, who loads the dishwasher? Who does the laundry? I'll load the laundry and I'll change it around and it'll end up in a laundry basket, and then she'll do the folding. But I'm always loading the dishwasher and unloading. What's going on there? Why you can't? Is she think her mom works there?
Well, it's probably just a piece of like you do certain things, like she does certain things.
Yeah,
just.
Like, who was it? Bill Burr, that comedian Bill Burr.
Yeah.
He goes, in every relationship, there's somebody who does the dishes and somebody who lets them soak. Like he said, so apparently he's throwing his wife under the bus that she puts stuff in the sink and lets them soak. And then he's like, hey, what is this? And she's like, oh, I was just going to let them soak. Like, yeah, that's all you're ever going to do. Let them soak. Thankfully with dishwashers, you can let them soak and do the rinsing. It was just kind of funny. You've already done most of the work. But I just don't I can't stand I used to wash dishes by hand when I was a kid too. And when I was in the Navy, when I was in boot camp, I had to work in the scullery, which is a weird Navy term for the room where everybody throws their dirty stuff at you and you wash it for like 12 hours a day. So I'm like, yeah, I'm done dishwashing. I think I have a dishwasher for that purpose. I think the dishwasher do the dishwashing. I think I'm done with dishwashing at this point.
I don't blame you.
But I'm a little sour about being the person that loads and unloads the dishwasher.
No, I understand that.
Do you and Jessica have a dishwasher?
We do.
Now, who loads it?
That would be me.
Who unloads it?
That would be me.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what I was saying is there's some things I know, like I take care of I don't mind. But then I know there's other things where it's like she takes care of, and
is there something she takes care of you could name? We're getting all your personal business on the interwebs.
I'd say a good one would be like laundry. Laundry's a big one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
that's great.
I'll do a ton of like cooking, like dishwasher stuff.
Yeah.
A few other like odds and ends stuff. Like anytime we need to fix something, I'll go and do that. Taking the dog out at 4 a.m. when he's got to go.
Yeah.
That's me. So
was your dog's name's Goose? So was he your idea or?
he was Jess's idea originally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're the 4 a.m. guy.
Yeah. Funny how that worked out.
Huh. That's ironic.
Yeah, but Goose was her idea originally. I was always on board with the dog. I was a little scared for him to be in an apartment and not really have anywhere to go. But then now that the weather's much nicer out,
yeah,
we take him outside. We let him run around. We have a park right behind us. We'll go there and he can run around for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, tire himself out, and then it's time to head home.
Well, it's good that she's your laundry mistress.
Yeah, which like I'm saying this, she does plenty for me, so I'm not making it like that, but just something she does that I don't do.
Oh, you know, I'm looking back at Michelle in Scarsdale neighborhood of Arlington Heights. Her question originally was, Matt, what's the biggest retirement income mistake you see people make in the first 5 years after they retire? We all the time have people that can't figure out how much they spend, which I totally get it. So the best thing is if you're a couple, Michelle doesn't say if she's a couple or not, but just use one checking account. Even if you're married, I know it's a pain in the butt. So ideally you want to have one checking account and you pay all the bills out of that checking account. It's okay if you have a credit card here or there. I know Dave Ramsey doesn't like that. But if all of the bills at least get paid out of that one checking account, now you know what you spend in a month. You can just look on page 1, total checks and withdrawals. Total checks and withdrawals. Now, we have a couple in Glenview that are clients and they have 3 accounts. And they're paying bills out of 3 accounts, and then they're shuffling money around 3 accounts. It's like almost like a money laundering scheme, right?
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
And then it's hard for them to figure. So what they had to do is they went back and credit to them. Excuse me. They had a meeting where they couldn't figure out what they spent. So they said, "Well, what you ought to do," and I hate to tell you to do this, but what you ought to do is go back probably about 12 months would be the right number, and and it's actually simpler than it sounds. You ought to do at least 6 months, maybe 7, because if your taxes are escrowed, you want to make sure you don't overlook to the tax bills. And if you want to average them out properly, you probably ought to look at the last 12 months of page 1 of your bank statement and average out the checks and withdrawals. So what they had to do in 3 different accounts, look at the last 12 months on page 1, total checks and withdrawals, add all that up, divide by 12. That gives your average spending per month, including that you have to budget for your property taxes if they're not escrowed or if your mortgage is paid off. And they went and did that. And they were like, well, we're spending this. No, we're spending that. No, we're spending this. No, we're spending that. And the why we had them do that is because they were doing some things that we thought was going to cause them to run out of money, I think in like 20 years or something. And she's only like 59 or so. So they didn't think that running out of money at like 79 was great. No, he was older than her, about 10 years maybe. So maybe he'd be 89. It wouldn't be such a big deal for him, but it'd be a really big deal for her. Not great for either person. So we figured out with them, and they volunteered to us. They go, you know what, we're spending. They go, here's the answer. We're spending I think it was 11,500. My memory might be foggy, but I can't say their names anyway, so it doesn't matter if my numbers are right. But I think they were 11,500 is what they ended up saying they were spending. And they voluntarily said, and we figured out how we can cut out $1,500 per month of spending, because there's $1,500 of nonsense. And so you're still going to spend $10,000. We poked that into the into our retirement planning software, and all the numbers worked. And now this is not a guarantee. Planning doesn't guarantee results, but they went from running out of money in, say, like 20 years to never running out of money, even past age 100 for each of them, for both of them, each of them, whatever. How do you say that? So that was pretty cool, and still spending $10,000 a month. That's a healthy number. So they're going to be okay. They can still go to dinner and do stuff like that. So income mistakes, not knowing how much you spend. I would say investment mistakes, taking too much risk or not knowing the risk you're taking. Tax planning that you're not performing all the time. We just showed something the other day, Matt, how to. I think it was the gentleman that had the $600,000 tax deferred. We showed him how to save potentially $300,000 in unnecessary federal income tax. that's kind of cool because he has 800 saved, 600 tax deferred, he and his wife. If we could save 300,000 of federal income tax, that makes a big difference when all you've saved is 800,000 and you still owe a little 50,000 on this house. So there are a lot of mistakes other than income, Michelle, in Scarsdale and Arlington Heights that you might not be thinking of. If you're headed into Medicare, there's a whole bunch of decisions to make there. You could go to tuckermedicare.com to get on our Medicare broker's calendar there. So tuckermedicare.com. Also, do you have a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust? Michelle, in Arlington Heights? You may not. That can be a way to protect your money from the cost of long-term care. It also could be a way to, if you have a spouse in the house, you know, say if you do or you don't, say one of you goes through the senior living thing, the surviving spouse doesn't want to have all the money zapped by the first person. So a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust could make it to where Medicaid pays for your long-term care, so it preserves money for later for surviving spouse and or for beneficiaries, like kids and grandkids. And then the other thing, or maybe even for charities, the other thing would be, we talked about the income scenario. We talked about it a little bit anyway. And then the other area would be legacy planning, or someone call it estate planning, but we're not attorneys, I have to tell you that. Legacy planning, do you have a trust? Do you know that wills do not avoid probate? A trust with a credit shelter trust, a trust with an interim clause. So if it's challenged, the trust is challenged, that it cuts out whoever the challenger is. So there's a lot there. And again, we're not attorneys, but we just want you to be aware of some things you might not know that you don't know. And so now you know them, okay? Get on our phone calendar, tuckerretirement.com. The link is down below in the description, or just type in tuckerretirement.com in your browser's address bar, tuckerretirement.com. And we'll spend 15 minutes for free with you over the telephone with one of our financial planners. Matthew will get their questions answered and
Their answers questioned
at tuckerretirement.com. If need be, we'll even make it a Zoom so you can see what we see. Do you see what I see? Don't make me sing. Get on our phone calendar. I promise not to sing. We'll just talk about it. We won't sing about it at tuckerretirement.com. And we'll see you next Monday morning on the next episode of the podcast. Thanks so much.